I am.
Just gonna stand there and watch me burn. That's alright because I like the way it hurts. Just gonna stand there and hear me cry. That's alright because I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie.
I can't tell you what it really is. I can only tell you what it feels like. And right now it's a steel night in my windpipe. I can't breathe, but I still fight. Well, I can fight as long as the road feels right. It's like I'm in the flight. High off a log, drunk on my head. It's like I'm huffing pain. And I love it the more I suffer. I suffocate like a fall. I'm about to drown. She resuscitates me. She fucking hates me, and I love it. Wait, where you going? I'm leaving you. No, you ain't come back. We're running right back. Here we go again. So insane, cause when it's going good, it's going great. I'm Superman, but the wind in his back. She's on his lane, but when it's bad, it's over. Who's that dude? I don't even know his name. I laid hands on him. I never stood so low again. I guess I took on my own strength.
Just gonna stand there and watch me burn.
Welcome. I think I'm frozen. Am I moving again? Okay. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of the My Brother show, where it is our goal to encourage one another, one brother to one brother. I am your host. I am actually frozen on my phone right now, so if you guys can hear me, please let me know if you can hear me, because I just want to make sure everything's coming through clear. I don't seem like I'm frozen on the laptop, but it looks like I'm frozen on my phone. I just want to make sure everything can come through pretty clearly before I jump into what the subject is about. So, Mom, I see you in the comments. Can you hear me, Mom? Okay, I'm not seeing no comments coming. That makes me a little alarmed that I might not be being heard right now. If you guys are listening, can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you so much, Mom, for confirming that for me. So welcome to the My Brother show, where, as always, the goal is to encourage one another, one brother to one brother. I am your host, Maurice Rush. I am the host of this show. I am the host of this episode. What's up, Kane? What's up, Tasha? I'm glad you guys could check us out, man. This episode is really deep and really serious, right? And when I kind of came up with the idea for it, I was really nervous, honestly speaking, because it's something that, I talking about taboo subjects all the time. And this one in particular was one that was really, really tough, for me to just find the courage to just do in the first place. And, it's something that's really, really necessary for us to do. And it's really, really necessary to talk about. And it's a conversation that needs to be talked about. So, today we're going to talk about domestic violence, guys. Domestic violence, and men who have been victims of domestic violence. Um, it's heavy. So, like, I know I joke a lot typically, and I'm like real, typically like buttery and stuff about stuff, but this is a really serious subject. And it was one that I struggled to find guests to come on to. So this will actually be the first time that you guys will see me running an episode by myself. So I do, if you are viewing, if you're listening, I do ask that you leave comments, that you ask questions so I can engage with you guys. But I do have a lot to say about this. Before I dig into that, I just want you guys to know, if you are interested in donating and supporting the show, you can say any gifts on Cash App to dollar sign my brother, my brother. Again, like I'll never charge for this. If you so feel led to support, what it is that I'm trying to do with my brother, here's how you can send gifts and donations to it. I do appreciate that. Yeah, man, this is weird because I'm so typically at this point I would be introducing my panelists. But I don't have none. So I actually have some statistics here though, that I pulled up because I feel like it's a really, really um, heavy subject. So I want to try to post them up as I read them. So first, um, what 1 in 4 men. These are from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. So I pulled up some statistics, and I found that 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. Um, I found that 1 in 25 men have been injured by an intimate partner. Um, 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence, like beating, burning, or strangling, by an intimate partner in their lifetime. 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime to the point in which they felt fearful or believed that they or someone close to them will be harmed or killed. Um, these stats are really alarming about men who are experiencing these things. I also found that 20,000 phone calls are placed to domestic violence hotlines per day. 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence, sexual violence, or stalking, with impacts such as injury, fearfulness, PTSD, use of use of victim services, or STDs. Um, this is like alarming things. 1 in 71 men in the USA have been raped in their lifetime. Um, it's alarming. 5.1 million men in the USA have been stalked in their lifetime. And this is a conversation that we're not having, right? For some reason, we're not having this conversation as if these numbers are don't exist. And then in a few instances where things do get talked about, when the male is on the receiving end, it's typically swept under the rug. It's typically laughed off, and things along those lines. So what I found, what I can date back to is, if you guys remember, a few, maybe last year at some point or 2 years ago, the rapper Little Bow Wow had a situation where he was, in a domestic situation with his ex girlfriend, and um, it was the laughing stock of the internet. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's part of the reason that us as men don't feel comfortable stepping forward about it, don't feel comfortable talking about it, don't feel comfortable dealing with these situations. So this episode in particular is really heavy. Um, I know some people might say like, "Oh, well, men don't experience this," but we do, we do. So yeah, so I'll be posting this throughout the episode. 1-800-799-SAFE. That is the domestic violence hotline. If you, male or female, are a victim of domestic violence, you can call this phone number and they will help you. 1-800-799-SAFE is the phone number. So I'll try to post that throughout the episode. And another alarming thing that I found, guys, when I was doing research leading up to this episode, was I actually called the domestic violence hotline, that phone number that I just put up. I called them today and I said, "Hey, guys, I have a friend who's a victim of domestic violence. Um, I have a friend who's been a victim of domestic violence. I have a friend who is in need of services. I'm in the Philadelphia area. Where can I turn them to? Because I can't find anything online. Who can I send them to?" So I called them, and they gave me two centers in the area. Neither one of them were in Philadelphia. One was in Glassboro, New Jersey, and the other one was in Media. And I thought that, wow, if I'm a man experiencing this, there's not even enough resources out there to really help me. And it was really disheartening that, in the Philadelphia area, there were only two centers that came up when I called the phone number that accept men. But I do have both of their numbers. If you're a male experiencing this, you can, the one in Media is the Domestic Abuse Project. You can reach them at 610-565-4590. The one in New Jersey is the Center for Family Services, and you can reach them at 856-881-3335. Um, and more importantly, like you'll hear me say this a lot throughout the episode, man, you don't have to take that. Like that is not natural. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your upbringing is. I don't care what you've seen. That is not a natural relationship. It's not a natural situation to be in where you're experiencing abuse and things along those lines. So yeah. So oh man, it's heavy. So I have a video that I want to play quickly. Um, and in this video, you'll see that it's one of those social project videos, social experiments. And what they did was there was a woman and a man, and in one video, in one scene, the male is the aggressor with the abuse, and the other one, the woman's the aggressor with the abuse. And you know, you guys can watch it yourself and see the aspects. I want to ask my intern to pull that up right now, add it to the stream. So he's gonna add it to the stream and he's gonna play it. Can you pull the screen there for me? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll try and see you on Thursday, and then get.
So this video actually takes place in London, guys.
What?
Too fucking cut. Come,
Get your hand off me.
come here.
What?
Where were you?
I'm not talking to you about this. I'm not talking to you. Get your hand off me.
Who was there?
Get your hand off me.
Who was there? Tell me who was there.
People are looking at us. People are looking at us. Will you get your hand off me? Stop there. People are looking at us. What's wrong with you?
Honestly, we're fine.
I'm grand, thanks. Okay, because someone will call the police if you carry on doing that to someone.
Okay.
If I don't, someone else will.
Okay. It's perfectly fine.
You don't have to put up with that, Annie. Okay. Thank you.
My office is there. You're definitely right.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm
And
grand.
as you can see, people intervene, rightfully so, as they should have.
What do you want? Do you ever listen to me?
Stop. You're crazy, man.
Manic. I've been talking at you for the last 10 minutes and you haven't listened. You haven't gotten into fucking what I've been saying to you. But you're fucking not even listening to me. That's what. Why do I push you like that? Because you won't fucking respond to me and you won't listen to me. You think you're fucking old manly.
I wasn't.
No, you can't be. No, you can't be. Don't try to fucking walk away. Stop. Listen to me when I'm talking. Don't try to fucking walk away from me. Stop it. What the fucking bullshit?
Just to look in, no one.
What the fucking bullshit? What the fuck's wrong with you? What the fuck's wrong with me? There's nothing. Don't give me that shit, okay? Pathetic. You're so fucking pathetic.
Thanks, me. So as you can see, like it's not taken seriously. You know, like that social experiment was eye opening to me because in both situations, you know, there was a victim and there was an aggressor, and you know, in this situation where the woman was the aggressor, um, it just wasn't taken serious. Before I really dig into it, let me just put this out here: there are men who abuse women. That's a very huge problem in the United States. That's a very huge problem in society as a whole. That's not what I'm talking about tonight, though, guys. So I'm not doing this episode to try and shame women who have been victims of domestic violence. I'm not doing this episode to make it seem like women are not victims of domestic violence. I'm doing this episode because men are also victims of domestic violence and people do not talk about it whatsoever. Um, it's almost, you know, in a certain sense, like it's so socially accepted, you know, for women to do acts of domestic violence. You can think about music, you know. There's a song by Carrie Underwood, "Think Before He Cheats," about, you know, a woman like tearing a guy's car up. Blue Cantrell had a song, "Hit 'Em Up Style." "Left Eye Burns Down," Andre Rison's houses. You hear that in songs and stuff all the time. Khalees had a song, "I Hate You So Much Right Now," where she was talking about blowing up a car and things like that. So it's almost at a point in society where like we kind of accept it from women to men. And I'm more so here to say, one, for my male counterparts who are dealing with this, you don't have to deal with it. But two, to just shine a light on it that it happens, you know. So yeah. So in this episode, I'm going to focus on a few different forms of abuse. I am going to focus on physical abuse. I'm going to focus on emotional and verbal abuse, and then I'm going to talk some about, you know, just some general disruptions of peace and what they look like. I do have some scenarios that some men, you know, anonymously submitted to me that I'm going to, you know, speak on as well, and we're going to really like talk about this. Yeah. So First, I want to talk about physical abuse. So, physical abuse is probably one of the more obvious forms of abuse that you see. Like, that's obvious, you physically putting your hands on your mate. Um, so, a few scenarios that I have, I don't need my phone for these. A few of the scenarios that I have of physical abuse, guys, is so I have a friend who told me him and his girlfriend were having an argument. Um, Arguments happen in relationships, right? You can't avoid them. It happens. Disagreements happen. So they were arguing. Um, at a certain point, my friend went to dismiss himself, from the argument. He had to go to the bathroom and actually um, take a number two. He had to go to the bathroom to take a dump. So he goes to the bathroom and he's relieving himself, releasing his bowels. And the woman literally walked into the bathroom and hit him in the face multiple times while he was on the toilet. Um, and that's an example of a real example of a man who has been a victim of domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, arguments happen, they're inevitable, but at the point that it turned physical, that's what happened. She walks in, she hits him twice while he's trying to relieve himself. He gets up, calls a friend, and leaves the house. Let me argue a little bit more until the friend gets there, but he leaves. And that's an example. I have another example of physical violence. I had a friend who told his significant other at the time, hey, I'm going out later on the evening. I'm around 8 o'clock. My friend's coming to pick me up. Um, he his friend gets there. He's like, hey, I'm about to leave. The woman, who must not have been listening when he told her earlier, said, well, where are you going? He said, I'm going out with my friend. So our argument pursues from there. And he said when he goes to walk out the door, he's walking down the steps, and about 12 steps to get out the house, she ran up behind him and kicked him in the back, which caused him to fall down the steps. um and he said he got to the bottom of the steps, and he said he got up and he charged back up the steps. And when he got back up there, he realized that when he charged back up the steps, he realized that he couldn't retaliate because she was a woman. And as men, we're taught. Well, a lot of men are taught. I won't say all of us. A lot of men are taught not to retaliate, not to hit a woman back. So he charges up the steps. He gets there and he just turns around and walks back out. The house to continue to do what it was they was doing. That's another example of physical abuse that I've heard from men. Um, Another one. This wasn't someone that I that submitted it to me, but I remember seeing this. And I'm out with for a friend's birthday. It's a bunch of couples and stuff out, and the one couple starts to argue a little bit. They're drinking a little bit. They start to argue, and she just like reaches back and slaps him in the face, like in front of everybody. Slaps him right in the face. Um, Another example, physical abuse. That may have endured. He didn't retaliate. So what I found that happened, and then I have my own personal stories as well that I'll go into in a second. But these are just examples that I'm giving you that may have submitted to me about physical abuse that they've endured. For me personally, this is tough for me to talk about because it's something I've never done, or rarely have done, seldom have done. So for me personally, I have multiple experiences where I was in a relationship with a woman who was abusive, physically abusive, verbally abusive, and emotionally abusive. And the first time it happened for me, I was maybe 18 or 19. The first time I ever was, attacked. And I say all these. Well, I say my stories with the caveat of there was no point in my relationship when I was being physically abused that I felt I could not overtake her physically. Um, but I was always taught not to put my hands on a woman. So for me, I endured it because I felt like, wow, if you retaliate, not only do you lose as a man because you're going against everything that you were taught, but you also lose in life because if she calls the cops, I'm going to jail, I'm getting a record, I'm getting handcuffed because again, like physically, I'm superior. So remember the first time it happened, I was like 18 or 19, and I'm arguing back and forth. And I can't even tell you we were arguing, but I was arguing. It was one of those ones that kind of ended with, while I'm leaving, pack my stuff up kind of deal. So, like, I'm like, okay, well, if you're leaving, go ahead and leave. And I had to go to work in a little bit. So I, picked up the bags, her baggage and things that were over there that she had packed up. She runs up like, hey, put my stuff down, put my stuff down. and like start scratching me, hitting me, scratching me up. And I remember like literally like kind of pushing her, shoving her onto the bed and like running out the house because I didn't want to retaliate. And I got to work that day. And one of my good friends was working there, and I was telling him the story when I got there. And like his initial response was like, "You lost, ha 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 ha." And look, I know we were young, we were immature, but that response was one that kind of enabled it to happen again. So that was one time that I was a victim of abuse. Another time, I was out. Um, I was out, in toxic relationships and things like that, and I come back home late or whatever, and I get like a real, like, where were you at? What were you doing? Yada yada yada. It kind of boils over. It doesn't really blow up. So at this point, things begin to get a little heated, like sexually heated. And I'm like, I'm young still. I'm probably like in my early 20s at this point. Um, I'm probably in my early 20s at this point, and I come back and things start to get a little sexually heated, and like she goes to pull my pants down, and like as soon as my pants get around my ankle, she shoves me on the sofa, punches me in the face 2 times, and runs away. And I'm like, get up! I pull my pants up and I walk back out the house because again, I don't retaliate. Um, and the the worst one, and this is the one time that I legit called law enforcement. And I share this story because like before I even get into this, and just shout out to the police officers who came that night. But I remember I'm sleeping, um, knocked out sleep, and the one person I was with went through my phone. She saw some things she didn't like. So I'm like knocked out sleep. It's maybe like 3 in the morning, and I just hear like over my ear, like while I'm sleeping. You guys excuse my, well, I won't curse, but I just hear in my ear, "I'm going to effing kill you." I'm sleep. So I wake up and I'm like, "Yo, it's too late. Like, go back to sleep." What I'm saying, we'll deal with this in the morning. Um, And at the time, if you guys remember the video game Rock Band, when you had like the little drumstick sticks and the drum set, I had one of them in my bedroom at the time. And So she grabbed the drumsticks from a Rock Band thing. She charges at me with the drumsticks, and again, like this person was from a physical aspect, she was much smaller than me. So I was able to take the drumsticks from her and kind of shove them. Um, Charges at me again. And, I was kind of able to kind of restrain her a little bit. She got loose and grabbed a pair of scissors, charged at me with a pair of scissors. Again, I grabbed her, and I grabbed her and took the scissors from her hand and kind of threw them somewhere. And like as I was holding her down on the bed, I looked at the mattress and I noticed that there was a blood stain on the mattress. And I was like, one of us is bleeding right now. And I looked at my arm and there was a cut on my arm from when she charged at me with the scissors. And I literally said, I'm not dealing with this. I'm calling the cops. Literally, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm calling the cops. I I got up. I walked out the bedroom. I went into the bathroom, locked myself in the bathroom, and I called 911. Um, and I just remember the cops getting there, and I just broke down crying because like this was something I saw growing up. This was something that I worked really hard to not repeat. These cycles I worked really hard to not repeat in my own life. And here I am reliving it. And I just remember feeling so defeated and so deflated. Like, how? How did I get here? So the cops come, and the cop is like, and looks at her and says, "We can have you charged with assault. Like, he has a wound. Like, we see it." And the one cop pulls me aside and he's like, "Hey man, men can be abused too, right?" And that was the first time someone even introduced the concept of it to me. It's coming in. That's the first time somebody even introduced the concept of a male being abused domestically to me was when when that cop said, "Men can be abused too." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not abused." Like I always felt like abuse was more of a like an inescapable prison, an unescapable prison. I'm like, well, like physically, I don't feel like I'm trapped. Like I can win this battle physically, like I can win the battle physically, but the moment that I retaliate, like I'm the one getting arrested. And he was like, "No, like men can be abused too. Like you don't have to take that, man. Like you don't." So in that moment, I kind of realized, like, yo, this is a much greater issue than what's happening in my relationship, what's happening in my life. It's a real issue out here. So again, shout out to the police officer for even putting that on the table, because to that moment, I couldn't even have told you that, it was something that I was that I've dealt with. And, I've made jokes about it, and, in the future to people, I'd be like, yeah, I was a battered man before, and I would joke around about it. And it's often met with like a jokingly response, like, ha, Reese was bad, or Reese was abused, like Reese got trauma. And that's an issue that, us as men, we got to do better with. And us as a society as a whole, we have to do better with. Um, it's tough dealing with physical abuse, you know what I'm saying, as a man. And I feel like oftentimes the situations that I hear that involve men who are victims of domestic violence, those situations typically are done by women who trust that the man was raised not to hit them. So they aren't acting from a space of, I know I can beat you. They're acting from a space of, oh, I know you won't retaliate. So I'm going to do whatever I want to you physically. And again, to any male who may be in this kind of situation, you do not have to deal with that. You do not have to deal with that. I say it again, you do not have to deal with that. Um, Again, I know there's not as many resources out there for us, but there are resources out there. You can call that phone number again. Now I'll put it up on the screen: 1-800-799-SAFE, and they will help you. Um, you can call 1-800-799-SAFE. They will help you. They will give you resources. You can, reach out to some of the shelters, some of the domestic violence resources, and get them. They exist out there for you. And just know you're not alone. You know what I'm saying? You're not the only guy out there who is dealing with that situation. Um, and you're in this situation. It's like, you feel trapped. Another story that someone told me was a situation where, he was trying to leave out for work. This is another scenario I got about. I guess this isn't physical, so to speak, but this is kind of why men struggle with reporting. So he told me, he was leaving out for work, and he had um, the keys were kind of like hanging like near the door as he walked out. So he said he was arguing with the woman that he was with before leaving, and she grabbed the keys and was like, "You're not going nowhere." And he was like, "Well, I got to go to work. Can you give me my keys?" And she was like, "You're not going nowhere." So there was like a brief struggle, and he kind of like got the keys from her hand. Um, and said when he got the keys from her hand, she ran at him, charged at him full speed, and he like moved out the way. And when he moved out the way, she falls. And when she gets up, she says, "Oh my gosh, you pushed me down. I'm calling the cops on you. They're going to come lock you up." Yada, yada, yada. So he leaves out for work, and the cops come to his job and take him out of his job. So, as a man dealing with a situation like that, it's tough, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, even in situations where you're not in the wrong, you can still be found in the wrong. Um, but again, I say it again, like, you don't have to deal with that, guys. Like, there are resources out there. You don't. Now, look, I'm not an advocate. I know a lot of people, a lot of men out here now are advocates of, if she hits you, hit her back. That's not my stance personally. I literally gain nothing from fighting a woman, like in life. Like, I gain nothing. I would never square up with a woman. I'm not throwing hands with a woman. Like, if I am physically superior with you and I am in a place where I can restrain you, I will do so. My personal theory is restrain and remove yourself. Restrain and remove yourself. I understand that's not always feasible, the remove yourself portion of it, especially in, the pandemic, depending on what your support system looks like. But that's typically my thing. But I do say protect yourself. So if you, like, in a situation where I called the police, I went to the bathroom and locked myself in the bathroom to protect myself. Um, so I would recommend that you do things along those lines. Protect yourself. Make sure you're safe. You know what I'm saying? You know what your know your boiling point. Know when you get to the point where you're going to retaliate. Like, and when you get to that point where you're like, oh my goodness, like I am about to snap out. Like, that's, you have to know when you're approaching that point and get yourself out of there. Get yourself to a safe space. Especially if you're physically superior. That would be my recommendation. I don't prescribe to the, like I said, I gain nothing from, squaring up with someone that I'm able to physically restrain. But those are examples of physical violence that men have dealt with, that men are dealing with, that no one's talking about. There's also emotional and verbal abuse, and I think that these are probably the most harmful to men, and these are probably the ones that are talked about the least, that physical and that verbal abuse. So that's all those, excuse my French, guys, that's all those you ain't shits, you never gonna be shit, your mama was a shit, your daddy was a shit, all of that stuff. That's all of your you don't want to do better with your life, you can do better with your life, you can't do nothing without me, you need me. That's all of the manipulative things, like, oh, if you leave I'm going to harm myself, oh, don't go anywhere, that's the, oh, if you leave me I'm going to keep the kids from you, that's the, if you leave I'm going to take you to child support. Those are all mental, emotional, verbal, abusively things, and those things, while they aren't reported, they cause a lifetime of damage. They may be more damaging to the male psyche, to the mental psyche, than the physical aspect of it, because it's like you hear that stuff over and over, and in that same relationship that I was just telling you about with the physical violence, there was a lot of putting down, like, oh, like, I'll have to be the man of the house. You can't run things. You can't pay a bill. You can't do this. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't lead. Um, a lot of that stuff. Like, I can do better than you. You ain't nothing. You don't want to do nothing with your life. Like, and hearing that stuff on repeat, and I know, depending on what your upbringing is, you may not have had the warmest environment as a man growing up, where people told you that you can do something, where people believed in you. You may come from a very cold environment, and you get into a relationship and it's equally as cold. That tears you up on the inside, literally, like, tears you up on the inside. um and you get out of it, and your self-esteem is like this small. It's so tiny, because you've been ripped up, you've been torn to shreds, you've been torn to pieces by this person who you loved, who you wanted to spend your life with, who you started a family with, who, in some instances has happened in marriage, the person that you've committed to spending the rest of your life with, and all they have to say about you is negative things. All they have to say about you is emotionally damaging things. They tell you what you aren't, they tell you what you can't do. You don't have to tolerate that, bro. You don't. I'm telling you, you don't have to tolerate that, man. Like, you are good enough, man. You're smart enough. You're wise enough. And I understand that, your dad might not have been around. Your mom might not have showed you the most love. You may not have heard "I love you" growing up. You may not have heard positive things about you, man. But it's like, bro, you're enough. You're good enough. You're smart enough. You're strong enough, man. I understand what tends, like, you endure all these verbally abusive things, and it's like, you can't run a house, you a broke, broke ass nigga, whatever they say, like, it's in the music that you hear. It's so much of a focus on, your ability to provide physically, and there's like this belief um that that I believe some women hold, that you can say whatever you want to a male, and it's just gonna, go right off his shoulders. That's not true. Ladies that are watching, I see some ladies that are in the comment right now. Ladies that are watching, your words hurt. They hurt, and the excuse of, "Oh, I was angry" isn't good enough. Those scars hurt. They last. They bother you. And then sometimes, you wonder, oh, he doesn't talk to me. He stays out late. He doesn't want to come home. You created an environment for that man where coming home is colder than being outside in, 10-degree weather. It was a warm day today in Philly, so I can't say that. But, like, the house sometimes is the coldest place for a man to be, because of what the woman that he's with is saying to him, because of what the woman that he's interacting with is saying with him. And I'm telling you, bro, you do not have to deal with that, man. You got to protect your peace. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what you witnessed growing up, man. Like, well, you may have witnessed, like, we've all witnessed some very toxic relationships, some very toxic situations. But I'm telling you, man, that does not have to be your future. That doesn't have to be your future. Um, so if you're a person that's constantly hearing what you aren't, what you can't do, what you never was, what your mom isn't, what your dad isn't, what your family isn't, that is abuse. That's abuse. That is verbal abuse, that is emotional abuse, that is mental abuse. If you're constantly being put down, if you are constantly um, being told what you aren't, if you are constantly being just like when I was with I felt like the person I was with, she never missed an opportunity to put me down, never missed an opportunity to say something negative to me. Um, that was abuse. You know what I'm saying? And I think that because what tends to happen for us, like we hold it in as men, right? And I know all men may not say this back, but we hold it in as a men and we internalize it. Um, and we don't say nothing, so the woman keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. And then I see a comment coming in from J Melanie Renee right here where it says, then we wonder why our partner doesn't open up to us. And that's exactly what oh, I'm sorry. um then we wonder why, she says, then we wonder why our partner won't open up to us. And that's why we don't open up, because literally everything you're going to say back is going to be negative. And even when you do something that's good, that's like a real accomplishment, it's almost like oh, you did that. That's still a sign of abuse. That's still a sign of abuse. You know what I'm saying? So like, you put this man down all the time, then he finally succeeded in the area. It's like, oh, you did that. Like, there is not a human being on the planet, male, female, kid, adult, that likes to be condescended. So if you're constantly talking to someone like they're unable to do basic functions in life or basic things, that's abusive. Um, Adam will put my friend AB puts the comment up right here. The tongue has the power of death and life. That's true. Words scar. You know what I'm saying? They do. They hurt. My brother. Shout out to my brother Mill. I've been shouting him out a lot lately, but um, he always tells me, people might not remember certain things, but they always remember how they make you feel, how you make them feel. People are going to remember how you make them feel. And if you make someone feel bad, they're going to respond in a way that you make them feel bad. Like, I can remember, driving literally 45 minutes to an hour, so an hour and a half, depending on traffic, to see, my girlfriend at the time. Um, and literally the whole ride saying, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not going to assume that it's going to be bad. I'm not going to assume that it's going to be a bad situation. I'm not going to assume that it's going to be a rough situation. And I'll get out there, I would get there and I will park the car and I will walk into the house and I'll be like, hey, how you doing? And I'll be like, oh, what took you so long to get here? Da-da-da-da. I thought she was going to be here at this time. Da-da-da. And like, like, no, well, what happened, like, no genuine concern. Like, those are signs of abuse. Those are signs of manipulation. And, it's, it's unfair that so many men have to endure that. It's very unfair that so many men have to endure those things. And again, brothers, you do not have to deal with it. You don't. You are smart enough. You are good enough. You are handsome enough. Um, you are. Um, I have an example of emotional abuse that a friend told me. He told me that he's not really the tech savviest one. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not the most tech savvy guy. He calls me one day to ask him for help with something on the computer, because he's like, I'm not that tech savvy. I'm struggling. But then one thing he said that really stood out to me in that conversation was, he was like, yeah, I asked my girlfriend, but all she does is tell me, oh, what, you not smart, or call me stupid, or things like that. And that hurts. And I'm like, dang, man, like, this brother, is legit here trying to say, it was like, and it was something like, write an email out, but put like the letterhead on there where like the names change. He was, asking for assistance with that. And she was like, well, you stupid, you can't do it yourself, da, 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 and things like that, just to put him down. He was like, like, that hurts. Like, I know that I'm not the most tech savvy, but like, if you're gonna put me down like that, it's hurtful for me. Um, so it's just really tough for a male to deal with. And again, I know we kind of touched on it. If you watched the last episode about loving him, we touched on the mother-son relationship. There's some sons that have very toxic relationships with their mom. Someone sent me a video not too long ago, and Lord, I wish I would have had it to play. It was literally, a mom. It was a family therapy session with a son and a mom, And the mom was just bashing, 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 bashing. And the therapist was like, why are you talking to your son like that? Like, do you love him? And so you have those toxic mother and son relationships, and they translate to toxic, male woman relationships, and you start to endure that same abuse from the woman that you endure from your mom. So I say it again, that has to be a separate episode. The mommy issues thing. I'm gonna sit here and dig into the comments, some guys, before I go into those disruptions of peace that I talked about a little earlier. I have a comment from Melanie right here. I remember reading a book, and the author was defending her fiance and told him that she was the only one who had the right to belittle him as a man. Some women think it's their right to do and say whatever they want to. My mom, this is eye opening for me. My cousin says, Natasha Thomas, usually that person is just extremely unhappy with themselves. And that's true. What I wrote from Kelly, this is so needed. Some women do it not realizing the effects, but searching for attention or trying to get a point across. We as women definitely have to do better. And again, I reiterate to Kelly's point, women are abused too. Women are put down by men. Women are verbally abused by men. That's not this. That's just not the focus tonight. So and then there's also the verbal abuse of your physical appearance, like, oh, what I'm saying, men are called ugly, women are called, I've seen a relationship where like the woman literally refers to her boyfriend as fat ass. Like, that's abusive. What I'm saying? Like, regardless of how playful you say it. And sometimes just because you say something and laugh afterwards, and this is a big thing that I want to put out there. Like, sometimes just because you say something hurtful, and I'm very bad at this, and it's something I have to work on myself. Hey, self, Maurice, Rush guy in the mirror, just because you say something hurtful and laugh afterwards does not make it any less hurtful. So there are certain things you just have to be mindful. Like the like self-esteem for a lot of men isn't that high. And if you go back to season one, we did an episode about self-esteem and building up your self-esteem and your self-image and things like that. If you watch that episode, there were some guys who are wary that they might have put on some weight, who are wary that um they financially they're in a bond, and they're already mindful about these things, like, like, dang, my money is already messed up, I already put on some pounds, like, whatever the case may be, and you compound on it by just smashing it in his face and abusing him and hitting him and hurting him and hitting him and hurting him. And it's like, well, dang, like, that's why you see those memes where it's like the world beats him down enough. Don't be another fight. And that's what it's referring to. It's not just like the physical fight, that emotional fight, that mental fight. Those things are very real. What I'm saying? Those battles, those demons that men are fighting with are very real. And I've I've try to create a safe space with this show where men feel vulnerable. This was one episode. I've had a few topics, actually, since I've started it, that I've struggled to find men to talk about. This was one where, like, was probably one of the hardest, and this is why I'm on here by myself. And somehow I just looked at the clock and I've been live for 43 minutes. And, I'm and I'm kind of like, whoa, I didn't talk, to myself for 43 minutes. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed. With myself. So yes, I'm going to transition to the those general disruptions of peace that I talked about. And when I talk about a disruption of peace, um, that's when you see, and it kind of back to Kelly's earlier comment, where it's like um, looking for attention. So you see it where a guy is sitting down, let's say watching a movie, and you come in and stand in front of the TV. Yeah, I'm saying, and are you coming and just turn the TV off? Or you just start the argument because you guys haven't argued in a while? Um, Disruptions of peace. If a guy is, out with his friends, not literally out with his friends. I know you're probably like, well, he probably was lying or cheating. No, I'm talking about the man who's literally out with his friends. And you're like, oh, don't go out. You know what I'm saying? Come back home. I need you. And then you get home and there's nothing to do. Disruptions of peace, like disruptions of time to be at peace, disruptions of time to relax. Those are abusive moments as well, because it's like, man, I've been fighting all day. I used to work. I used to work in a welfare office before. I was a caseworker in for the Department of Welfare. I did it for 5 years. It's very, very rowdy in there. For 40 hours a week to just sit in a welfare office and deal with all the negative energy, the negative attitudes of coworkers, the negative attitudes of clients, the fights between clients and coworkers. Um, it was very negative. So when I left work, I would be drained, like emotionally and mentally drained. So I get home and it's like, okay, cool. I just want to relax right now and like kind of unwind and kind of just release it all. And I do that, and the moment I get comfortable, it's like, oh, um, I'm sorry, excuse my woman voice, guys. But I was like, oh, you hear like, oh, are you just not gonna give me no attention, huh? And it's like, I'm sorry, just give me a second. I'm like, no, I want your attention now. And now, like, after I literally have just, carry, I guess, and figuratively carried the world's problems, I have to now battle with you. So it was always like it's a struggle that that disruption of peace is like I'm trying to relax. I'm trying to be able to say the peace. I'm trying to get to a point where mentally I'm able to give you what you deserve as my significant other, as my spouse. Um, but you're not allowing me because you're so focused on self. You're so focused on what it is that you're dealing with. So these are like general disruptions of peace. These are things obviously you can't report to like any domestic violence facilities or things like that. But again, just like the emotional abuse, these things are very very much matter. And they very much create a cold environment, to being in a relationship. Um, so that's kind of what they do. I have a comment here, from my mom. My mom asks, how do you turn this toxic behavior off? I'm glad you asked, mother. Um, so one is self. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to check yourself. That's like the biggest thing you can do. You have to be wary of it. You have to be wary of some of those behaviors and cycles that you are unintentionally repeating that you grew up with. So oftentimes, I look back over the course of my life and I can't really say I know what a healthy relationship looks like when I look back over the course of my life, right? I can't say that I know what a healthy relationship looks like. So what tends to happen is since so many of us have not seen healthy relationships, since so many of us have not seen healthy relationships, we think the unhealthy things in relationships are normal. So we do things because, oh well, my girlfriend is doing it, or my sister was doing it, or I saw my cousin doing it, or I saw my niece doing it, or whatever the case may be, or I saw my aunt doing it. Um, that that happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you got to know yourself. You have to recognize when you're repeating unhealthy cycles, and just because other people are doing it, it doesn't make it healthy. Oh my gosh, let me say that again. Just because other people are doing it, it doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it healthy. It doesn't make it acceptable. So just because you done hurt your sister or your mom or your cousin curse her boyfriend out or slap her boyfriend or hit her boyfriend, that doesn't give you the green light to do the same. Be better, want to be better, and do better. Um, Comment right here from Nari I want to address before I keep answering my mom's question. My good friend Nari from YouTube. That's the YouTube emblem, guys. Shout out to the people watching on YouTube. Contrary to popular belief, cheaters don't deserve to be abused either. Leave them because you deserve better. That is very factual, bro. Completely factual. And then, like, um, when I talked about the Carrie Underwood song, next time you think before you cheat, like she's talking about tearing dude car up with a bat and scratching his car up and busting his tires out and all that stuff. I don't care if he cheated. Like that doesn't give you the right to do that. Like that's not okay. And then when you talk about that, the societal double standard, right? The societal double standard, because if a male made a song like, "Oh, she cheated on me," so I broke her windows out her car, I cut her tires, and all of that fun stuff. But if a guy does it, he's dragged. You know what I'm saying? Like we get dragged. If a guy made a song about going upside his girl's head because she cheated on him, he gets dragged. But if a woman does it, it's a number one hit. Like there's that double standard there, and that's kind of what I'm looking to break with this episode. Um, But back to my mom's question about how do you turn the toxic behavior on? One is just being wary of the signs. Another thing that you can do to turn the toxic behavior off is, again, like my cousin says right here, make a conscious effort to speak kindness. Like literally make a conscious effort to speak kindness to people. She wrote some other stuff there about our crazy family, and our family is a little crazy, but make a conscious effort to be kind. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to jokingly say negative things to people, you have to like almost do twice as much positive. Like, I joke with a lot of people. I do. I joke with a lot of people. And if you're a male or female watching this, you probably heard me joke with you. But one big thing that I'm very mindful to do is also let you know that I love you, also let you know that I appreciate you, also reach out to let you know that I care. Um, and things like that, so that, like, if I'm joking, and again, I try not to joke about things that I think that someone might be self-conscious about, so you'll never hear me joke about someone's weight. I won't joke about someone's appearance or things like that. Like, I might joke about like a story that we had or something like that. So try to be mindful um of my fault. So try to be mindful of the things that you're going to joke with someone about. If you think that it's something that might make them unconscious, I'm not unconscious, self-conscious, if it's something that might make someone self-conscious, I wouldn't joke about it. If someone has a weight issue, I wouldn't go out there and be like, you so fat, da, 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 da. Wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? If someone might be conscious about their hygiene, don't jokingly call them stinky. If someone might be conscious about their financial situation, don't jokingly call them broke, because those are trigger things. You know what I'm saying? And also, oh my goodness, normalize apologizing, folks. Can we normalize apologizing? I'm gonna say that one more time. Like, let's normalize apologizing. I was literally just at work today, and one of my coworkers was like, "Oh, like, I'm not feeling well today," and I'm like, "Hi, what, you got COVID?" And she was like, "I know, I got lupus." I'm sorry. That was insensitive of me to joke about you having COVID. That was insensitive. You have a real illness, lupus. I'm sorry. I apologize. She was like, no, it's okay. I said, no, 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 no. That may be a trigger for you. I may have unintentionally triggered you. I did not mean to be insensitive. Normalize doing that. Like, just normalize it. It's okay to have made a mistake. Like, you live and you learn, guys. So as you're going through life and as you're learning about life and what life has to offer, and you learn some of the things that you might have did were wrong, reach back and apologize. Like, it's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, like, I'm sure any of the guys watching it here, we so seldom hear I'm sorry. Like, for that story about me calling the cops, to this moment, I have never been apologized about this. And in addressing this situation with that person fairly recently, they still say, oh, I didn't do anything wrong. You cut yourself in the struggle. Like, just say you're sorry. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just let it go. Like, I made a mistake. I was wrong. I'm sorry. And keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? Give that person some time, some space, but like, apologize. Like, it's, I mean, like, you make mistakes. We live and we learn. We make mistakes, and you apologize and do better. Apologize and do better. Um, Another big thing I do want to say is recognize the signs. Typically, you don't go from being lovey-dovey to just getting knocked upside your head. It typically doesn't jump that quickly. Like, there's typically signs to getting there. So like, it's not gonna go from like, oh, like, oh, we're in love, and then out of nowhere he just punched me in the face or she just punched me in the face. There's typically an escalation period to get there. So one, recognize, like, how do I put it? So like, you, let's say you set a bar here of what threshold you can take via an argument, and someone crosses that threshold and you take them back. Now they know they can go across that line and not lose you, and that's how situations escalate, because that what tends to happen. So like, um, if you're with someone and we're arguing one day and they're like, "F you, you nut," I mean, they're like, "F you, get the F out of my face," blah 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 blah, and they shove you, and you don't say anything about that to nip that in the bud. There, now in their mind, they know, "Oh, I can say F you, I can push them, and it's not going to go anywhere." Like, you just, what I'm saying? Like, you done move the bar to stuff that they can get away with. So that's how things escalate. So I can tell you a story about when I when I was with an ex. One time, me and her, we're in the car, we're arguing, right? We're arguing, and like, da da da, what goes on, and she bumps me. I don't even know if she bumped me on purpose or accidentally. But like in that moment, I literally stopped and I said, "Listen, I don't know if you did that on purpose. I don't know if you did it by mistake, but I do not play that. Like literally, like you're not gonna put your hands on me. You're not gonna like hit me. Like that's not what we do here in this relationship." So I wasn't going to let it slide. And again, I don't even know if she did it on purpose, honestly. But for me, like I knew that that's how things could quickly escalate. So for my males, like it might start off with a ha 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 or you ain't ish. If you don't like that, nip it. Tell her. Tell her. Like my good friend, homie not just said right here. You got to stop trying to justify the abuse. Like I don't care if you're angry. Being angry is not an excuse to treat somebody poorly. Like it's just not. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not. You know what I'm saying? You can't say, "Oh, I was angry, so I said blah 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 blah." And then if that's something that you don't like, check it in the moment. Don't let it stew. Don't let it fester because things are going to grow up. It's going to grow up, and it's going to keep blowing up. It's going to keep blowing up. I had a situation. This is probably from a um where a person in a relationship was arguing with their significant other, and the significant other said, "F you, B." And they split, and then like a few days later, they got back together. But like for me, like when you get back together, now he knows he can get away, or she knows she can get away with that FUB now because they did it and you took him back. So you got set. If this is your bar, if this is what you're gonna tolerate, don't like nip it. Let them know the moment they try to push. People are habitual line steppers. Like that's what they do. They'll step on the line. So if you got the line here, they're gonna step on the line. They're gonna see how close to the line they can go. See how serious you are about it. And if you move in the line every time they cross it, then you're going to eventually get yourself to a point where they're going to do whatever they want to do. So establish that line and don't cross it. Um, man, all right. I'm trying to come down. This is a really emotional episode for me, guys. It's trying to come down some. I'm gonna address some comments because I need to come down a little bit. My friend, don't film any of that BS either. It's sad and pathetic. In the face that some don't interfere when it happens is straight sucker stuff. I agree. You know what I'm saying? Like we film a lot of stuff. Um, but there's so much, you teach people how to treat you. That's, Rashida, that's one of the truest things I've seen here. You literally do teach people how to treat you. And that's what I mean when I say that line stepping thing. So, like, if you're allowing someone to constantly cross lines, then you're going to get yourself, male or female for that matter, male or female, you're going to get it. Um, my cousin asks, what if the person is speaking the truth? Um, I asked in response to that, what is your truth? You know what I'm saying? So, what is your truth? So, there was a time in my life where I was unemployed, I wasn't working. Um, and in that time, the person I was with was telling me, "Oh, you're broke, you got no job." That was true. You know what I'm saying? It was a true statement. I was broke, I didn't have no job. But what was that like? Understand the why, to respond to that. Like, there's typically a journey that gets somebody to the position that there is. Um, I'm sorry. So, what is the truth to the situation? You know what I'm saying? So, if you understand someone's journey, if you understand the why and how they got there, you typically understand why they're in that position. And you know what I'm saying? Like mental health is real, guys. Emotional health is real. And sometimes in dealing with mental and emotional health, you get stuck in positions in life. You get stuck in emotional states. You get stuck in bad mentalities and bad mindsets. That happens, like that's a true thing, and that's not something to gloss over. So to just tell somebody, "Oh, do better or get a better job," or I'm saying, look better or go to the gym and work out, like without addressing that person's mental state, like I think that that's being unfair. So although it may be a truthful statement, one, the delivery is very necessary as well, because I'll say, so like if you think your significant other needs to lose some weight, you can say, "Hey, you fat B, you need to go to the gym." I'm not going to receive that. But if you say, "Hey, like I want to work on getting healthy. Let's go to the gym together. Let's start working out together," you're accomplishing the same goal but you're saying one in a way that's receptive. You're saying another one in a way that's abusive. I saw a comment. Um, I saw a comment a little while ago. I'm trying to find it. Um, I can't find it. I can't find it. Um, but one of the earlier comments talked about it. My good buddy now Regis puts oftentimes female abusers use the truth against you and not just any truth. Could you put that up again for me? Not just any truth, the one they know will cut the deepest. Um, so this one right here. Um, yeah. Oftentimes female abusers use the truth against you and not just any truth, the one they know will cut the deepest. And that's true. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear about the stuff that you know is gonna hurt the most. It's gonna hurt the baddest, you know. So they'll do the things that they know are going to bother you, man. But again, like I had the stats are right here, man. Like if you guys tuned in late, I'll read a few more of these out again, because I know I'm pushing the hour and I need to get ready to wrap up. Uh, the stats, these are stats straight from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 25 men have been injured by an intimate partner. 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence, beating, burning, or strangling. 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner. 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence or sexual violence with attempts of injury. Um, these are real stats. 1 in 71 men in the USA have been raped in their lifetime. 5.1 million men in the United States have been stalked in their lifetime. Um, like there's people who have I was looking at it. There's even like a one. This is a big one. I didn't even see this one earlier. 1 in 15 children. So think about who's watching, and that's another thing. I didn't really get a chance to dig into it, but be mindful of who's watching you when this happens. 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year. 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to the violence. Like, so you get so caught up in yelling, cursing, fighting, bickering that you're not even mindful of who's watching, and that's sad. We got to do better. Um, Good comment right here from Nari. The truth is supposed to be spoken in love with attempt to uplift and deliver your man. And I can't read today. I'm sorry, guys. The truth is supposed to be spoken in love with intent to uplift and the delivery your man can receive. Weaponizing the truth is demoralizing. That is so true. And those stats that I was written right here, and those are just the reported stats. Again, these are the ones that reported. Again, like I told you guys, I called the domestic hotline today, and the woman gave me shelters, two two shelters in the area, in the Philadelphia area, that took men. That's sad. And neither one of them was in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is one of the biggest cities in the country. There are no domestic violence shelters for men in the city that take men in the city. One's in Media, one's in Jersey. Um, I also did some more research to look at for domestic violence shelters exclusively for men. The first domestic violence shelter exclusively for men, guys, opened up in 2017. Two of them opened up in 2017, one in Arkansas, one in Texas. Like, this is a problem, guys. It's a real problem. It happens. I've been a victim of it. I know people who have been a victim of it. Just because we don't talk about it, just because it's not talked about, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It's a real thing. And all right, I just need a dramatic pause right there, guys, because it's heavy, and I've been telling myself not to get emotional when I'm doing this thing, man, but it's tough. I'll let you part. I did pull out some stats for domestic violence in Pennsylvania exclusively. Then they're a little dated. These are from 2014, so they are a little dated. I couldn't find anything more recently for that. But 27.5% of Pennsylvania men experience domestic violence. Um, in one day in 2014, 2,498 victims were served by domestic violence programs. 252 requests went unmet. That's for both genders, but still, just if you think about 252 people went to get help with for domestic violence and was not able to do so. Um, that's heavy. This is a real issue, and it's not one that just affects women. Yes, it does affect women. It does affect women. Again, it does affect women. Um, but it also affects men. And it's time that we talked about it a little bit more. So if you're a male and you know that you are experiencing, domestic violence, if you are a victim of domestic violence, you can call the domestic violence hotline, which is 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. I did call them earlier today just to get an idea. I was on hold for maybe all of like 90 seconds, so it was a very, very, very short hold. The first question they asked me was, "Am I in a position where I can speak safely?" So they are mindful about your surroundings and things like that. But 1-800-799-SAFE. They gave me the address to two shelters in the area that accept men. One is the Domestic Abuse Project, that's in Media, Pennsylvania. That's 610-565-4590. And the other one is the Center for Family Services over in Glassboro, New Jersey. That's 856-881-3335. So if you are a male, if you know a male who's been victim of this, you can give him these resources. If you are a male and you're watching this, um, you just need someone to talk to. I'm like I say all the time. I'm so much rather hear about your problems and the things that you're dealing with than hear about your funeral. I would so much prefer to hear about those things. So talk to me. You know what I'm saying? If you don't feel comfortable doing it, I'll do the legwork for you. You know what I'm saying? If you don't feel safe doing it, I'll do the legwork for you. Um, so talk to me about those things. Um, all right, I think I'm done, guys. All right. Whew. All right. Get myself together. No tears still. Here I go. Season 2, episode 4, and still haven't cried yet. So I think I'm doing pretty good. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. This is a really necessary episode. I hope you guys got to it. I am mindful to let you guys know this was not an attempt to make anyone look bad in my past. This is not an attempt to make anyone look bad who I might have dealt with. If you are familiar with some of these stories that I told, those close to me may be familiar with some of the stories that I shared today. It was not an attempt to make anyone look bad. It was just an attempt to shine a light on something that is really happening, in society. Um, and yeah. So thank you guys for joining and tuning in. In 2 weeks, I will be doing it. It's funny because I feel like this season, every episode has somehow segued into the next one. So we talked about, domestic violence today. It's funny. In 2 weeks, we'll be talking about childhood trauma. So on March the 10th, I believe it's the date, March the 10th, I'll be here, talking about childhood trauma. I have two amazing guests joining me for the episode. One is a foster parent. His name is James Gaillard. The other one is he grew up in the foster care system. He has, some experiences with childhood trauma directly. His name is Jeremy Morris. They'll be joining me for that particular episode about childhood trauma on March the 10th. Um, and again, if you guys would like to support the ministry, I keep saying ministry because my church mom pops out. But if you would like to support the program and support what it is that I'm doing, any gifts could be sent to on Cash App, $ my brother. Again, this goes to equipment, guests, anything that you could think that goes to like the behind the scenes thing. There's a lot of planning that takes place in these episodes. And also I gotta, pay this knucklehead that's sitting next to me. Um, this knucklehead that's sitting next to me. I pay him, to come out and help me out with the show. Um, so that I also want to give a shout out to the guy. I told him that I would do this. I got this from a black owned business owner. This shirt right here. You guys can't see it. It says "We are Black History." Let me take this. It says we are Black History. He has a bunch of black cartoon characters on it. It says we are Black History. And I told him, he's a black business owner. He's a young black man. I know him from where I grew up at. And you can find him on Instagram. That's his Instagram name. At I don't know what that says. SSIYAN. He sells T-shirts like this. He sells hoodies like this. With other different designs. Find him on Instagram if you like a hoodie or a shirt. I told him that I would do it, man. And shout out to his name's Brahim, man. Shout out to Brahim for the sweatshirt, man. That was super dope. I love it. Um, and yeah, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Check me out March 10th. As always, if you have any ideas for future episodes, any ideas for wanting to be a guest, anything that you would like to hear me discuss, let me know. And I'll find some way to get you on the show. I'll find some way to get you in the rotation, your topic in the rotation of things. Yeah. Until then, man, I'm Maurice Fresh. I'm your host. I am signing off, guys. Peace. Love y'all. We out.